Welcome back, folks, to the random video blog where every single Friday I, Graham G.S. Matthews, run down my rambling wrestling thoughts, share a few stories, etc., etc. Today is the final random video blog of 2016, and our final one on Thursdays. For the past nearly 3 years, we've been doing it on Fridays up a couple months ago when I had internship and I had class on Fridays, blah, blah, blah. We switched up the schedule a bit. We did Wrestle Rant Radio on Fridays. We're going back to the original schedule. I know it's very confusing, but starting next week, the first full week of 2017, Wrestle Rant Radio is back on Thursdays. The random video vlogs are back on Fridays, which is the way that it always was up until a couple months ago, like I said. But anyway, I figured we would close out 2016 with a massive bang. I was thinking about doing my top 7 favorite matches of 2016, not 2017. It hasn't even happened yet. Top 7 favorite matches of 2016, not only from WWE, but from NXT, Lucha Underground, TNA. But I figured you guys already kind of know what my list would be, not only from talking about it here on the show and on hashtag, but I literally just put out my list of top 25 best matches of 2016 for WWE and NXT in the Cruiserweight Classic, that I feel like it would be the same exact fucking list. And other than a few like Lucha Underground matches, it would be pretty much the same list. And I don't really want to repeat myself, so I figured I would do something unique instead in ranking the top 6 best wrestling shows I've attended all year. And there's quite a variety too, because this year marked the most amount of wrestling shows I have ever been to. Not like in total, obviously, but the most amount of wrestling shows I've been to in one calendar year. 16 in total. More, I think, beating the previous record, I think, of 12 or 13, whatever the previous record I set, which was previously set in 2012 and then 2014, or rather 2014 then 2015, now in 2016, 16 shows in total. It's crazy. We'll see what 2016 brings, but it's been a lot of great shows. I don't just go to any random show. If I wanted to, just to beat, just to break the record, I would have, but every single show I went to this year, whether it was Raw, SmackDown, NXT, Ring of Honor, my first ever Ring of Honor show, a house show I just went to with Jason on Monday in Madison Square Garden, my first ever wrestling show there, my first time there in 9 years. Absolutely amazing time. Thanks once again to Jason for coming along. It was a great Christmas gift, so I appreciate Santa for getting me that, but it was an awesome time. So whether it was a house show, Raw, SmackDown, NXT, Ring of Honor, or TakeOver, whether it was Chaotic Wrestling, Northeast Wrestling, I had a great time wherever I went this past year. Beyond Wrestling, a lot of great shows I went to in 2016, 16 in total. So I'm going to pick out the top 6, though. And again, it was hard to rank them. It was hard to include and leave a few off. But an honorable mention that you will not see on this list, Hell in a Cell I went to with RJ a couple weeks back, or in late October. Really good show. It was an all right show. Being there was a really good time. The show itself wasn't great, but it was a good time. Also, an honorable mention, the Raw that I went to with John in late August, SummerSlam weekend in Brooklyn as well. Fun show. Really not much of note happening other than Bayley's debut and the Dudley Boys leaving, but still a fun show. And also another honorable mention, the NXT Boston event I went to with RJ about a month and a half ago, whatever it was, in Boston. Another really good show. I think right before Survivor Series, a couple days before Survivor Series, another really fun show. So those are some honorable mentions. We'll start off the list with number 6 here. Also, I went to with Mr. Marceau. SmackDown. My first SmackDown since 2009. I know I've talked about it here on the show before, many years ago. My first ever WWE show. Really my first show, I think, period. My first show was a WWE show. A ECW SmackDown taping back in November of 2009. And I had not been to a SmackDown since. I got tickets to SmackDown in January of 2015, but because of the massive fucking snowstorm I got that year, I couldn't go. So we went to, I got tickets, or I got my money back. We didn't go to a show for a while. I went to a live event the following month, and we didn't go to a show after that because I wasn't in Boston at school. So anyway, though, so I did not get to go to a SmackDown up until I went back this year for the first time in almost 7 years, back in March. I think the final real SmackDown, they had a SmackDown before Mania, but it had only like 2 or 3 matches, and it was taped the same night as Raw. This SmackDown, the last full episode of SmackDown right before WrestleMania. And I know like people have been raving about SmackDown since the brand split, as of I have been, because the show's been freaking great. But the Blue brand, in my opinion, has really been great all year. I mean, not as great as that is right now, but they were really putting on some really good shows earlier on in 2016. And even before the brand split, and that's why it was kind of the hot ticket to go to, and I was really looking forward to going to SmackDown with RJ right before WrestleMania. And Brock Lesnar was there too. I didn't know that when I got my tickets, but they later added him onto the show. So my third time seeing Lesnar live, I think, in addition to SummerSlam the year prior and Raw the year prior too. So seeing him at Smackdown was really cool. They had Sasha Banks and Charlotte one-on-one for the first time on the main roster in Boston. I think Charlotte won. That was a good match. I saw AJ for the first time, I think, in WWE on that show. So, yeah, just a really fun time with Mr. Marceau right before WrestleMania. And SmackDown really, like I said, is the hot ticket right now. So I would love to go again at some point in 2017. Coming in at number 5 is SummerSlam. You would think it would be a bit higher up on the list, but SummerSlam this year, I don't know. I think it might have been a bit better than last year, but there was just a lot of confusing finishes. The second half of the show really was not that good. Lesnar and Orton was a massive disappointment. Rollins and Balor was pretty good, but the crowd shitting all over the match due to the Universal Championship belt design was pretty disappointing. Club and New Day just was not good. Charlotte and Sasha had a great match. Cena and AJ is why I enjoyed enjoyed that show as much as I did. It was just a really, really, really long show. Ziggler and Ambrose was whatever. It was just a really, really, really long. But how can I not include a show that had Cena and AJ on it? My favorite match I probably have ever seen live, in addition to Banks and Bayley from 2015 to Takeover Brooklyn. But it was a really fun time, again, on the show on the whole. Would I watch back in its entirety willingly, other than for Wrestle Rant? Probably not, because it was almost 5.5 hours long. Just really, really long. But still a good time, a great weekend in Brooklyn. Really lively crowd. It was kind of the latter half of that show that kind of killed it for me and kind of knocked it down a few placements, a few spots on the list. You just made the list. So coming in at number 4, also making the list, and I mentioned NXT before, NXT Lowell, back in April 21st, 2016, also with Mr. Marceau. I went to SummerSlam with John, SmackDown with Mr. Marceau, went to NXT with RJ as well in April. Both NXT house shows, the one in April and the one in November, both with RJ. The one in April was really, really fun. It was my first NXT live event. I went to Takeover the year prior, but my first NXT live event in Lowell. Just a really, really fun show. I got to see a bit of Andrade Cien Almas, at that point known as Manny Andrade, and he was really good in the match against Austin Aries. We saw Tommaso Ciampa versus Oney Larkin, at that point named Christopher Gerard, Bit Busick, whatever. Great match between those two, and also, obviously, the kicker. Alexa Bliss and Asuka had a good match, too, and a great tag title match between American Alpha and Revival. But the kicker, Samoa Joe beating Finn Balor for the NXT Championship in shocking fashion, blew my mind. Probably one of the greatest things, if not the greatest thing I saw live all year, in addition to AJ beating Cena clean at SummerSlam. But wow, what a shocker. No one saw that coming. That was just a really, notwithstanding, it was just a really, really fun show. And NXT is the hot ticket in wrestling right now, in my opinion. So check out NXT when you can. But that show was just a really, really fun time on the whole. And I'm sure it was an enjoyable experience for RJ as well, who had his first NXT show that night in Lowell. So just a great time. Coming in at number 3, my first ever Ring of Honor show, Ring of Honor All-Star Extravaganza 8, from that same exact auditorium, the Lowell Memorial Auditorium, that same exact arena, on September 30th, 2016. So on my wrestling bucket list for a long time now, I've had a few different things. Go to an NXT show, accomplished that in 2015. Go to a TNA show, did that in 2014. Go to a Ring of Honor show, did that with this show. And go to Madison Square Garden for a wrestling show, did that a couple days ago. WrestleMania is also on there as well. I think that's the last one, though. I think that's the last thing I need to cross off my wrestling bucket list, going to a show, going to WrestleMania. But anyway, yeah, Ring of Honor All-Star Extravaganza. I was really pumped going into it. I know it was going to be a great card. It was just a really fun time. This show I went to with Tommy Sharp, who you hear every Thursday/Friday with me on Wrestle Rant Radio. His first wrestling show in a while, too. We just had a really, really fun time. That same night, I got to meet Adam Cole, the Briscoes, Jay Lethal. Cole and Lethal I interviewed many months later for Wrestle Rant Radio. Both really, really cool guys. Just a great show on the whole. Obviously, also the kicker to the main event being the Young Bucks, the Addiction, and the Motor City Machine Guns in a triple threat ladder war match for the tag team titles. Just absolutely amazing. Again, just an absolutely incredible match. Probably the best all-around match I've seen live this year. Even over Cena and AJ, maybe. I don't know. But it was just a phenomenal match. Just a really, really fun match. And those guys killed it. So love that match. Just a really fun show. Definitely enticed me to go back to Ring of Honor again when they come back to my neck of the woods, whether it be in Boston, Connecticut, New York, whatever. Would definitely go to another Ring of Honor show again. My first Ring of Honor show was a pay-per-view. Who would have known? But yeah, had a great time, though. Just a really fun first experience at Ring of Honor. Now we get to the top 2 here. Coming in at number 2 was Extreme Rules with Mr. Marceau, RJ, back in April. May 22nd, 2016. Just a day removed from his graduation. He he hit the road with his girlfriend Molly. He picked me up on his way from graduation the next day to at my house and went to Newark, New Jersey at the Prudential Center for Extreme Rules in my third pay-per-view ever, in addition to SummerSlam and TLC before that. A really fun time. I've always enjoyed Extreme Rules. It's always been one of my more favorite pay-per-views of the year, so going there was a great time. Two Match of the Year candidates really made the show with AJ and Reigns, Styles and Reigns in the main event. Awesome match, and one of my favorite matches of the year. A fatal four-way for the Intercontinental Championship. Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, Cesaro, and The Miz. Fucking phenomenal match. The other match was phenomenal too, involving AJ, but this one was as well. Just a really, really fun match. That night we also saw Baron Corbin and Ziggler on the kickoff show. We saw Rusev win back the U.S. title. The Asylum match, I didn't hate on it. It's still not one of my favorite matches, but it was kind of dull. Not a terrible match, but it was whatever. Charlotte and Natalya was kind of disappointing, but that was whatever. But overall, really fun show. Also ending with the return of Seth Rollins. The New Day versus Vaudevillains was fun as well, but yeah, the return of Seth Rollins, in addition to that awesome main event, really made that show just, again, a great time and an awesome road trip. I really appreciate RJ for picking me up for that show. Just a really fun time at Extreme Rules back in May. So number one should really come as no surprise to you guys. My favorite show, not only that I attended in 2016, but my favorite show, period, in 2016. NXT TakeOver Brooklyn 2 back on August 20th, 2016 at the Barclays Center in Brooklyn, just the day before SummerSlam. And just a really fun show. They just absolutely killed it with that show in the Barclays Center. And arguably better than the year before. I don't know. I know a lot of people might disagree, but they're both neck and neck for the two best shows I have ever attended. Went to that show with John. That was his first taste of NXT, and he broke his NXT virginity on that show by attending Brooklyn too. Again, an amazing show. Really not one thing wrong with that entire show. I thought Asuka and Bayley had a better match in Brooklyn than they did in Dallas. No Way Jose and Austin Aries kicked things off in an awesome way with the opener. I thought the GTS from Hideo Itami, his big return, he didn't really return, he was already back by that point, but the GTS from him to Austin Aries was amazing to see live, the first ever televised GTS. That was sick. We also saw Bobby Roode, the in-ring debut of Bobby Roode, the Glorious Entrance. That was great. Revival versus DIY in one of the greatest matches all year. And Nakamura beating Joe for the NXT Championship, his first ever NXT title, after that incredible entrance from Shinsuke Nakamura. Just so effing good. So just a great show, start to finish. All the matches on the show are pretty much perfect. Just essentially a perfect show. Really enjoyed TakeOver Brooklyn and bringing John to that show. Hopefully we can be back for the third consecutive year. The night before SummerSlam in 2017, if we all do go to all three shows again, Raw, SummerSlam, and TakeOver, should be just a really fun time. But that was undoubtedly the best show I went to in 2016 was TakeOver Brooklyn 2 right before SummerSlam this past year. So once again, the list includes at number 6, Smackdown from March 22nd, 2016, SummerSlam from August 21st, number 4, NXT Lowell back from April 21st, number 3, Ring of Honor All-Star Extravaganza 8 from September 30th. Number 2, Extreme Rules from May 22nd, 2016. And number 1, NXT TakeOver Brooklyn 2 from August 20th, 2016. So a lot of great shows I went to in 2016. Looking forward to going to more in 2017. And hopefully we can even top the amount that we went to in 2016. Very, very, very unlikely, but we'll see. It's a long shot, but it's going to be hard to beat a lot of these shows that I went to this past year because a lot of them had awesome wrestling, memorable moments. Got to meet a lot of cool people too, a lot of you guys and stuff. So it was really cool. But yeah, thanks for checking the video out and listening to my list of the top 6 favorite wrestling shows I attended in 2016. Would love to know what shows you guys went to in 2016, whether it be WWE, TNA, Ring of Honor, indie show. Even those are great too. I went to a handful of indie shows this year that were also a lot of fun. So looking forward to what 2017 brings. So that being said, guys, as I said at the start of the show, the random video blog moves back to Fridays starting in 2017, the first Friday of the year, which I believe is the 6th, January 6th. So stay tuned until next Friday for the first random video blog of the year, which I will probably do once again, predictions and my wish list of things I want to see in 2017 for WWE. So that being said, guys, have an amazing rest of 2016, an amazing 2017 as well. Happy New Year, and I'll catch you guys down the road in 2017.